While Trump was shaking hands with Xi Jinping in Beijing, something was happening out at sea that nobody was supposed to notice. Iranian forces were quietly waving through Chinese oil tankers at the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most strategically critical waterways on the planet, while the rest of the world's fleet sat blocked outside the Gulf. If you've been following this story, you already know things are moving fast. Drop a comment right now. Do you think China just played both Trump and Iran at the same time? Because here's what the mainstream headlines are not telling you clearly enough. This wasn't random. This was choreographed. Ship tracking data, cited by Bloomberg, showed a Chinese very large crude carrier named Yuan Huahu moving south along the eastern edge of the strait. The vessel, owned by Costco's energy transport arm and chartered by Unipec, was actively broadcasting its Chinese origin and crew. According to analysts, that broadcast wasn't accidental. It was a signal, a message to Iranian naval forces that this ship was Chinese, and therefore it should pass. And it did. More than 10 Chinese-linked vessels exited the strait within 48 hours. Think about what that means. Iran didn't open the gate for the world. Iran opened the gate for one country. That country was China. Now you might be asking, how did this arrangement even happen? Stay with me, because this is where it gets geopolitically explosive. Iranian state media outlet Fars news agency cited an informed source saying that Iran began permitting certain Chinese vessels to transit after what it described as an understanding reached over Iranian management protocols for the waterway. That understanding, according to the source, came through direct requests made by China's own foreign minister and its ambassador in Tehran. This was quiet diplomacy doing loud work. And if that detail surprised you, share this video right now, because most people watching the Beijing summit footage had no idea any of this was happening simultaneously at sea. Two other Chinese VLCCs, Casper Lake and Heirang Hai, were also tracked exiting Hormuz in April under nearly identical circumstances. Meanwhile, the French shipping giant CMA-CGM reported that its container ship, San Antonio, was struck while transiting the same strait, injuring crew members. A Chinese-owned tanker was also reportedly attacked near Hormuz, the first such incident involving a Chinese vessel since the crisis escalated. So let's be precise about what we are witnessing. Iran is selectively allowing China through, while the broader commercial fleet remains stranded. It is simultaneously enforcing restrictions against others and absorbing risk on China's behalf. That is not neutral behavior. That is a strategic calculation. Here is the context that makes all of this even more significant. Since February's escalation and the U.S. blockade on Iranian ports that followed an early April ceasefire, global shipping through the Gulf has been severely disrupted. China has been cushioning that blow using emergency stockpiles accumulated before the crisis. But stockpiles have limits. Beijing urgently needed the Gulf energy supply to resume, and Iran just handed Beijing exactly that, quietly, selectively, and right as Trump sat down with Xi. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi had recently met Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi specifically to discuss reopening the shipping lanes. That meeting now looks less like routine diplomacy and more like the final step before a coordinated move. While Trump publicly stated he does not need China to resolve differences with Iran, China's behind-the-scenes activity tells a sharply different story. Beijing is positioning itself as the essential broker, the one party with both the access and the leverage to move Iran when nobody else can. The broader picture being assembled here is striking. China and the U.S. both publicly called for Hormuz to remain open during the Beijing summit. Both leaders underscored it in their statements, but only China got results at sea, immediately, quietly, and on its own terms. Wang Yi's statements from Beijing emphasized that this war should never have happened and has no reason to continue. China called for a comprehensive and lasting ceasefire, for shipping lanes to reopen as soon as possible, and for a political settlement that addresses all parties' concerns, including the Iran nuclear deal. Every one of those positions is now being backed not just by words, but by observable action in the water. And this is the part that reshapes the entire diplomatic picture. Iran still controls the gate. It decides who passes and who waits. And right now, it has chosen to open that gate for Beijing, and for Beijing alone. That is not a coincidence. That is leverage, influence, and a very deliberate geopolitical message delivered at the most sensitive possible moment. The Strait of Hormuz has officially become a chessboard, and while the world watched the summit in conference rooms, the real negotiation was happening one flagged hull at a time. We track this story every single day so you never miss a move in this rapidly shifting crisis. If this opened your eyes to what's really unfolding between China, Iran, and the United States, hit that like button and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Iran is using Hormuz as a weapon, or is this simply trade between allies? And if you want daily breakdowns of the world's most critical geopolitical developments before they hit the mainstream, subscribe. We're here every day covering what actually matters.